Hey everybody, it's Joric. Welcome back. I hope you're doing great wherever you are in the world. Today I wanted to make a video about kind of a guide to citizenship. Many of you have requested this, so I'm going to kind of go through, be a little longer video than what I normally make, and go through for those people that are in the citizenship phase as well as the people that have received citizenship. I've also taken notes in speaking to them just to make sure I have the information up to date, as well as information from Portugal's government on how to go about the process, requirements, things of that nature. I'm going to go through kind of the steps, all the paperwork and the legalese, and then I'm also going to touch on some of the money. Now, please keep in mind that I'm going to be doing this at the time of making this video, so I'm going to give you loose ranges because I hope this video lasts for a while, and then if you're watching this in a year or two, hopefully it's not an obsolete video. But I'm going to also start at the top and say I'm not going to talk about the golden visa. I'm not going to talk about through marriage or obviously if you're born in Portugal. I'm going to talk specifically about naturalization, because the majority of you watching this channel or channels about Portugal are going to be coming in on the D7 visa. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be gearing this towards. There are folks that are looking to do the D7, spend their time doing the temporary residency, and then after that, moving towards citizenship. So first things first, you have to complete 5 years in Portugal as a resident, and that's the temporary resident. After that 5-year mark, you have two options. You can, if you choose to, you can do permanent residency, which would be renewed in 5-year blocks. And many of the same things apply as far as the permanent residency. Or you can apply for citizenship. And that would be another passport for you, a second or third passport, depending on where you're from. And that is renewed in 10-year blocks. So citizenship, 10-year blocks. So also, for some of you, depending on when you move to Portugal, or if you hadn't moved to Portugal yet, or if you have moved and you're getting ready for citizenship, the timing of that 5-year mark, when you've completed your 5 years, was when you were issued residency, and now it's changed recently to time of application. So if you are just watching this video and you're thinking about moving to Portugal, the good thing is there may be several months of time that you may not be in Portugal before you move there that is counted for you in your time. I also want to keep in, before I get into the weeds here, is that there has been some suggestion that Portugal may change their citizenship requirements. So I just want to make sure that I have that, because if they do, that will be another video. But I'm going to make an assumption that they don't change those. So here's some of the documentation that you're going to need when you're ready to apply for citizenship. So a completed application form, and that's available at the Portuguese Civil Registry Office or Consulate. A valid ID, passport or equivalent ID. That's something that when you do that, it also needs to be apostilled, which if you don't know what apostille is, many people around the world know what notarization is. Apostille is just another level of that. I can't tell you exactly what it is. I know that when we've had to get many of our documents apostilled, it was just a cover page saying this is an official document signed by a representative, and then on the second page was their signature, much like a notarization. Birth certificate, again, apostilled. Criminal record, so much like when you were getting your residency, have to go through that. Translated into Portuguese is very important. So whatever, if you have anything in your background or if you don't, it has to be in your native as well as in Portuguese. Proof of legal residency, so that is something that you should have because you would have your temporary residency card, and you probably each renewal you might keep those cards as well, so you'd have those. This is one that's a stickler for many people. It's the Portuguese language proficiency, and it's an A2 level. I can tell you from taking the test, I'm not good with languages, and if you've heard me on this channel try to kind of pronounce Portuguese stuff, I butcher it left and right. It's more of the all-encompassing reading, comprehension. There is some speaking, But the A2 level, I don't think is as difficult. People make it out to be an incredibly difficult test. I don't know that it is. I was able to pass it, so I don't call myself that smart of a person. But the CAPL exam is one of the examples. I will say that people have commented on past videos and said that there are some places where you can take a class and somehow through the class it gives you that equivalent, or you can take the test at the class as opposed to having to go through this official way and taking the CAPL exam. I don't know about that. I don't know people that have taken that side class, but you do need to have an A2 level proficiency, otherwise you're not going to get citizenship. Marriage or civil union certificate, again, this is something that you will want to get notarized and apostilled. The funny thing about this is, depending on how long your application process is, although you might have been married for 20 or 30 years, sometimes in Portugal, the documents from when they were apostilled or notarized are only good for 6 months. So you're going, well, wait, we've been married for decades. Yes, but the document, where I'm going with this is this happened in our residency, because it may take a long time for you to fill out the application and go through the process. They may require you to do any of these again based upon if it's been more than 6 months of movement on Portugal's end. I've talked to numerous people where they've had to submit 2 or 3 marriage certificates or their IDs 2 or 3 times because it's taken 3 to 4 years to get citizenship, and in that time some of these documents have expired, for lack of a better word. And then with that, that's really it because I'm not, again, going to talk about through marriage, through descent, or golden visa. Those are the main documents. And through the application process, so Portugal's going to determine if you're eligible or not. And then as you have all those documents, it is important that all of those documentation goes in all at once. You don't have any stragglers. Everything's got to go in at the same time, all together. Don't send the application and then, well, we'll get the criminal record and then we'll get this other stuff. No, it's going to gum up the system and take it even longer for you to get citizenship. I know this because I've talked to several people who didn't have all the documents or didn't turn in a complete packet, and they're still dealing with a few years later trying to get citizenship when they should have had it in 2022. In a handful of cases, it's 2025 and they're still waiting. So you submit the application and then you pay the applicable fees, which I'm going to go into in loose range here shortly. And then you await the processing. Now, when we moved to Portugal in 2019, the processing was 18 to 24 months. And like clockwork, the people that we spoke with that were citizens got it within that 18 to 24 months, somewhere in that time frame. No one got it earlier than that, but no one got it later than that. But then pandemic, a lot of issues at AMA and all the backups that are taking place, trying to get through the immigration. Well, there's a delay, and then more delays and more delays. All the people, Portugal becomes the hot place to move to or retire to, or as refugees come to. Everything gets put on hold and pushed back. So I can tell you that the naturalization process is closer to 3 years. And I'm saying that for people that applied in 2022 and 2023 that we know that are still waiting and they haven't gotten any updates, and it's been 2 to 3 years. And Portugal, the government, the representative that I know at AMA said, it's closer to 48 months, 4 years before someone right now, just because there's this big glut of people that are applying, as well as all the other people that have to handle regular administrative functions for all the other immigration. There's just a glut that they have to get through, this bottleneck, and it's going to take time. And so that's it. So I'm going to put in the description a couple of clicks that you can get to review all this information and where to submit the application in the Portuguese government. But I want to get to the cost, because many times that's what people really want to know is, how much is this going to cost me? And so I'm going to do it 2 ways, without an attorney and with an attorney. So without an attorney, the standard application fee is 250 euros. Then you're looking at criminal record, If you do it yourself, it could be 25 to 50 euros, depending on how many countries you've lived in, because you have to get the records from each country. There is a company called Global Citizen Solutions. I don't get any kickback from them. I get nothing from them at all. But they are a company that they show up a lot on Google searches that say that they can help you for a fraction of the cost, like 20 to 50 euros tops. I don't know that to be true, but I would expect to maybe pay 50 to 100 euros to send out that information and get it sent back to you from the criminal background check from either a country or many countries you might have lived in. And then again, because they have to translate that into Portuguese, they have to apostille that, so those are all different fees. Translation fees can be a lot more expensive. They could be hundreds of euros more than you're expecting just to translate a document. Just a little tip on that. And then the language test, the SIPL test, approximately 70 to 75 euros. Although people, when I took the exam, I think it was 70 euros, but it's probably a little more now, 1 year later. And then the document for translation and notarization, it could be as little as 20 euros per document. It could be up to 100 euros per document, depending on who you're going with. If you're going strictly, because some countries, for example, United States, they didn't translate our information into English. We had to have a third party in Portugal take that and translate that. So that was extra fees along the way. And then you're looking at administrative costs. So mailing, postage, copies, time, Uber going back and forth, or flights to and from, or bus or train, depending on where you're going. That cost, without using any attorney, I would say is 500 euros at the low end, up to 1,000 euros at the high end. Now, if you've lived in many countries, it could be even more, because you got to get background. There's all kinds of things that would be piled into that. But 500 euros to 1,000 euros for the people that are currently in the citizenship phase as of now. So it's present day euros. That's what they've paid to do it themselves. Now, I'm going to lastly touch on if you're going to have an attorney do this and help you with much of this. It seems to be, for the most part, flat fees. When we were going to utilize our immigration attorney, who was going to help us with citizenship, she was going to give us a flat cap of 2,500 euros. And that would be for both of us, so both my wife and myself. So two people. So you could look at it as 1,250 euros each, but 2,500, that was going to be it. And she said, because she was familiar with our cases, because she was helping with our initial residency, she said that's how much it would cost to go through all the process, all the administrative fees, getting all the documentation. She felt like she could do it for that. I've heard of people doing it for as little as $1,000, meaning the attorney helping. In a couple of cases of that, they're still waiting for citizenship, or there were issues, or not all the documentation was turned in, meaning there were problems with the attorney. So I think sometimes you get what you pay for. Now, as soon as I say that, though, we also know people, and when I say people, over a dozen, maybe close to 20 people that are in the citizenship process or have applied for citizenship, that have just applied, and they spent $10,000 or more with an attorney, which I think is highway robbery, but they feel like that whole get what you pay for, they're going to be guaranteed to not have any issues and it's going to be smooth sailing. I can't say that that's going to be the case. I have no way of knowing that. But I will say our immigration attorney was going to do it for $2,500, which is a lot of money, but to not have the headaches and the issues and having somebody else do it, it might be worth it in that particular case. But as we were researching, we were seeing people, yes, 1,500 euros. We saw somebody that was charging as much as 20,000 euros. I don't know what they were doing different or why someone would pay that. But there may be people that do. I will say too, it's not a great way to end the video, but there are 4 people that abandoned citizenship to Portugal, already turned in stuff, already paid fees, and were several thousand into it with their attorneys. And in one case, the attorney just ghosted them. Website gone. brick and mortar. One day they were there, the next day they weren't there, and then they're out all this money. And so it went from being now it's a do-it-yourself, and they said, you know, we're moving to another country, we're moving overseas, we're not going to deal with this anymore, we've already spent a ton. So I would be cautious, and I would try to see the attorneys that you're reviewing, if you're going to have somebody do it and help you with this process. Look at reviews, go into expat Facebook groups and Reddit groups, and see if someone's talked about this attorney or third party who promised the moon. Can they deliver the moon or not? It's very important that you don't get taken for thousands of dollars. People know, you know, citizenship in any country costs a lot of money, and if you do it yourself, it's still a lot of money out of your pocket. If you're going to have an attorney do it, it's even more, and you want to make sure that they're getting it done right, which is part of paying an enhanced fee as opposed to taking your money and running off with it. So that's really the guide to citizenship. It's much of the same documentation and things that you needed to get residency. The only difficulty or the only biggest issue or hump for people is the language. Not all countries require a language exam. Portugal does, but it is something that, based upon the level, the A2 level, if you were to look into it and start taking a course or start researching, you'll find it may not be as challenging or foreboding as you think. As always, please ask questions. Please give me suggestions for more videos. This was a suggestion from many subscribers, so I wanted to give you kind of my take on this. Please ask questions. I'm happy to try to track down people in the citizenship phase right now to get you up-to-date answers. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. I truly appreciate it, and enjoy your travels.